So, hello everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight, and thank you, Shay, for giving me the opportunity to talk to your lovely audience. So, as Shay mentioned, my name is Effie, and I'm a personal performance and career coach. And I'm very interested in mental health, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about tonight. And one of the reasons that I'm very kind of obsessed with mental health is because it has an immediate massive effect on how we perform in our life and in our business. But also the opposite is also true. So how we perform in our life and business affects our mental health. But also there's another reason why I'm very interested in the topic. And this is a little bit more personal. And I'm grateful for being able to share this with you tonight because you're a lovely audience. So, when I was 10 years old, my mother, after suffering from depression for a couple of years, she committed suicide by jumping from the 8th floor of a building. At that time, I used to live in Greece. And as you can imagine, this whole incident brought many changes, lots of uncertainty to my life, emotional instability, and financial instability for many different reasons. Do you know what I love about children, though? We used to be absolutely resilient. So children always find a way back to their normality somehow, because they always see a positive light in every situation. And that's what happened with me as well. So obviously there were difficult and challenging times. But at the same time, I kind of was a normal teenager, although I don't really like the word normal, but I seemed to be normal. I was quite good at school. I was popular with my peers. High school, I started having my first romantic relationships. And later on, I got into university. And a few years later, I came here to London, and I found a job in one of the biggest public relations companies in the world. So I felt, oh my God, I've made it. My life is great. I felt strong and confident. I had made it. I was financially independent. That was fantastic. What happened though, 2 years ago, changed everything, because I had a massive breakdown, and that involved high levels of anxiety, high level of stress, and that was constant. And I couldn't really enjoy anything, a feeling of emptiness. I didn't know where I was going, panic attacks in the tube. Some of you might have experienced it. Even at my home, I couldn't really find a place I could feel peace. And I used to visit my GP at least once a month. I thought that I was suffering from something all the time. Once it was a brain tumor, the following month it was like ovarian cancer, the month later it was multiple sclerosis. So I knew all the symptoms. And then I realized that this is so wrong. This is not what life is about. Something is very wrong with me. And I was talking to my family back home in Greece and my friends, and they were like, what is your problem? Because your life seems to be perfect, you know? You have, the job that you really wanted to get. You live in London, one of the greatest cities in the world. You get to travel the world and you party all the time. You have friends who love you. What is the problem? And I couldn't really answer the question. So I had to do something because I was really scared. And I was really scared because I felt that if this would go on, it would be something that probably I would not be able to fight back. It would be too late, because obviously I was thinking about my mom's story. And what happened later, I saw a therapist. And that was very challenging, and it was very powerful at the same time. And I'm not going to go into much detail, but there were two big realizations there. One was that I was suffering from anxiety disorder. And it was the first time in my life that I found out that being anxious all the time wasn't how we're supposed to feel. During my whole life, as a teenager, later on as a young woman, I used to feel anxious all the time. Constant. But I felt everyone feels that way. What is the issue with that? I thought it was normal. I thought it is something that everyone shares. No, it wasn't. And number two, and that was the most important thing, it was that I had created a life based on who I wanted others to think that I am, instead of who I really wanted to be, who I really was and who I really wanted to be, both in professional and personal level. And that was kind of, when you hit rock bottom and you think, I've put so much energy in everything around my life, but nothing of this brings me happiness. Nothing of this brings me peace. And I didn't really know what to make of it. I didn't really know how to proceed. But then I thought that I'm going to make it happen, because I'm not the first or the last person going through that. And we human beings, not just children, we are resilient. And that's what I did. So I went deep with my therapist, and I embraced the discomfort that comes with discovering what's happening in your life and who you really are, because it's not easy. And that's my main message tonight. My main message to you tonight is, if you really want to live a fulfilling life, because happiness every day doesn't really exist, at least for me. A fulfilling life, something that you really want to, something that gives you drive, something that that makes you want to wake up in the morning. And if you want to do that, if you want to live that life, and you don't have to, obviously, if you want to do that though, you need to break through self-deception. And that was one of the hardest things that I had to do in my life. Bob Dylan once said that people find it very hard to accept anything that overwhelms them. And this is 100% true. This is 100% true. That's why human beings were incredibly good at deceiving ourselves. And not only that, we're incredibly good at believing at our lies. And so we are blind to the obvious. And not only that, we're blind to our blindness sometimes. So I thought that embracing my family story and accepting it was a kind of an evidence of weakness. And I had completely disassociated myself from what happened. I thought, whatever happened to my mom, although obviously I always loved her, whatever happened to my dad later on had nothing to do with me. Nothing at all. I was a completely separate person from them. And this had no impact on me whatsoever. This wasn't obviously the reality, because the reality was that every day I was making decisions based on my perception of my family story. And my perception of my family story was shame. I used to feel absolutely ashamed of what happened to my mom, what happened to our family later on. And that's how I used to make my decisions. By the age of 27, I got engaged 3 times. And although sometimes I felt like, okay, it's not the norm, however, things like this happen, when I looked deep into why I did that, was because I felt the need to prove myself to everyone around me, and especially those people who knew me and my story and my family, that I was able to have a healthy family of my own. I was obsessed with that, subconsciously. I wasn't even aware of that. And in terms of my professional career, I wanted to be an actor. I always wanted to do that. But when I was 18 years old, I said to myself, Effie, you can't be an actor because you need to be financially independent. You know, no one is able to support you. So I felt so ashamed because of different stories related to money happened to my family that I thought I have to be financially independent, and that's my main objective in life, subconsciously. That's why I chose the career I decided to choose. So it was a very difficult journey, but it was a journey that it's worth it, because today I've managed to turn my life upside down. And how you can also do that. If I did it, you can also do it, guys, honestly. Because I was never the person who was supposed to speak to someone about my mom committing suicide. And tonight I'm speaking to you lovely people. If you want to do it, find a mirror. And when I say mirror, I mean it can be a therapist, it can be a coach, it can be a mentor. Don't try your mom or your dad, because when I told my dad that I'm seeing a therapist, he said, "You're so intelligent and beautiful, why do you want to see a therapist?" So this is a very dangerous reaction. Don't do that, please. But just find the mirror and break through the patterns that keep bringing you back to the same position. And then, once you do that, obviously, there are more steps to go ahead with, but this is the first and most important step. And that's what many people sometimes try to not go ahead with, because it's frightening, it's scary, it is. But if you want to succeed in life or in business, this is a milestone. This is the first thing that you have to do. Otherwise, you will find yourself just looking at mistakes and not being able to understand what's happening. So my main message to you tonight is, whatever your truth, unconditionally and unapologetically, because this is not just your birthright, it is also your responsibility. Thank you so much.